The woman you're looking at died in the year 1636. Her name was Oiwa. And the face in this painting, the drooping eye, the swollen brow, the hair falling away from her scalp, is not how she looked in life. It's how she looked after she was poisoned. This image comes from a ukiyo-e woodblock print made by Katsushika Hokusai around 1831, part of a series of ghost stories. In it, Oiwa's ruined face rises out of a paper lantern, glowing in the dark, staring back at the man who destroyed her. For nearly 2 centuries, this has been considered one of the most frightening images in all of Japanese art. But what makes it truly unusual isn't the painting itself. It's what people believe happens to those who tell her story. Because to this day, before any actor in Japan plays the role of Oiwa, they travel to her grave to ask for permission. And the productions that fail to do so are said to be the ones where people get hurt. To understand why people fear her, you have to understand what was done to her. The story comes from a kabuki play first staged in Tokyo during the Edo period in the summer of 1825, written by a playwright named Tsuruya Nanboku IV. He called it Tokaido Yotsuya Kaidan, the ghost story of Yotsuya, and from the moment it opened, it was a sensation. In the play, Oiwa is married to a man named Aiman. He's a masterless samurai, handsome, ambitious, and quietly rotten. He'd already murdered Oiwa's father to win her hand, a secret he carries into the marriage. By the time the story begins, the couple is poor, Oiwa has just had a child, and Aiman has started to see his sick, exhausted wife as nothing more than a burden. Then a way out appears. A wealthy family nearby has a granddaughter named Ume, and Ume wants Yemon for herself. There's only one problem standing between Yemon and a rich new marriage, and that problem is Oiwa, so the family solves it. They send Oiwa a gift, a face cream, presented as medicine to help her recover. It's poison. She rubs it into her skin, not knowing, and slowly, her face begins to collapse. One eye droops down her cheek. Her skin blisters and scars. Her hair comes loose in bloody handfuls when she touches it. The cruelest part is that she doesn't know yet. It's only when someone hands her a mirror that she finally sees what's been done to her. And in that moment, something in Oiwa breaks. What happens next is the reason her name still carries weight 400 years later. Oiwa doesn't simply die of grief. In the most famous version of the story, she stumbles in her horror and panic, catches herself on a blade, and bleeds to death on the floor of her own home. And with her last breath, she curses the name of the man who did this to her, Aiemon. In that moment, Oiwa stops being a victim and becomes something else, an onryo, a vengeful spirit. In Japanese belief, these are the dead who die with so much rage and injustice unresolved that the force of it tears a hole back into the world of the living. They do not rest, they do not forgive, they come back. Japan remembers 3 of these spirits above all others, the country's so-called Big 3 ghost stories, and the other 2, Okiku, who haunts a well counting plates, and Otsuyu, who returns to her lover by lantern light, are gentle company next to Oiwa. She is the most feared of them all. Eamon thinks he's free. He kills the loyal servant who knew too much, nails both bodies to opposite sides of a wooden door, and throws it into the river to hide what he's done. Then he prepares to marry into his new fortune. It doesn't work, because Oiwa is already with him. On his wedding night, he lifts the veil of his beautiful young bride and sees Oiwa's ruined face staring back. He swings his sword and takes her head in an instant. Then the face flickers and he realizes what he's actually holding. He has just beheaded his own bride. From there, it never stops. Her face surfaces in a paper lantern, glowing in the dark. It rises out of the smoke of his fire. It hangs in the trees. Everywhere he turns, she's waiting, patient, ruined, and finally, terribly in control. Here's the part most people watching don't realize. You already know Oiwa. You've seen her, not in a museum, but on a screen. Probably late at night. Probably when you wished you hadn't. Think of the most famous image in modern Japanese horror. A woman in a white garment. Long black hair, hanging in a curtain over her face. One eye visible through the strands fixed on you. She moves wrong. She comes for the people who wronged her. and there's no bargaining with her. That's Sadako from The Ring, and that's Kayako from The Grudge, and before either of them existed, that was Oiwa. Film scholars trace it directly. When the author Koji Suzuki wrote the novel that became The Ring, he was working in a tradition Oiwa built. The drooping, distorted features, the hair coming loose, the white burial kimono, the vengeful woman who can't be stopped by apology or escape. The entire template of the modern Japanese ghost, the one that crawled out of a television set and terrified the whole world, was built on a kabuki play from 1825 about a poisoned wife. When you watch the girl climb out of that well, you are watching Oiwa. When that pale figure unfolded down the staircase, that was Oiwa too. Every J-horror ghost that went on to haunt Hollywood remakes and a generation of teenagers traces back to one disfigured woman and the man who betrayed her. She didn't just survive 400 years, she quietly became the most influential ghost on Earth. Millions of people are scared of her. Almost none of them know her name. Which brings us back to the grave in Sugamo. Oiwa was based on a real woman, a wife who lived and died in 17th century Edo, buried at a temple called Myogyoji, where her grave still stands today. The historical Oiwa's life wasn't the horror story the play made of it, but once the play made her famous, something strange began to happen around her name. Productions of Yotsuya Kaidan started going wrong. Over nearly 2 centuries, casts and crews staging the play, on stage, and later on film and television, reported a pattern of accidents, sudden illnesses, injuries, and deaths, enough of them, and strange enough, that a tradition took hold to deal with it. Before mounting the play, the lead actors and the director travel to Myogyoji. They stand at Oiwa's grave and they ask for permission to tell her story, and for her protection while they do. The actor playing Oiwa herself is expected to go without fail. Now, it's worth being honest about what this is. There's no record proving a ghost has ever harmed anyone. Accidents happen on every production, and a handful of unlucky events across 200 years of stagings can be explained without anything supernatural at all. The skeptics have a fair point, but that's also what makes the tradition so strange, because it isn't only the superstitious who make the trip. Hardened film crews, professional actors, people who'd laugh at the idea of a curse, they go to the grave anyway, just in case. And that quiet just in case has outlived everyone who first felt it. So maybe Oiwa isn't dangerous. Maybe the painting is just paint, and the curse is just coincidence wearing a frightening face. But 400 years later, the actors still bow at her grave, and not one of them is willing to be the first to find out what happens if they don't. I'd love to know what you think. Is the curse of Oiwa real? Or is it just the most disciplined coincidence in the history of theatre? Tell me in the comments, and if you want more stories like this one, the forgotten dark corners of art history that nobody talks about, subscribe and stick around. There are far stranger things still waiting.